All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. March 1st, new month. We got a decent-sized NBA slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. We're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games and any other plays like player props that I like within the game. But as always, all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade me, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, a 2-1 night. We were one Jonathan Kuminga assist away from back-to-back sleeps. We swept 2 nights ago. We almost swept last night. Unfortunately, 2-1 night. We can't cry over it. It's still a good, profitable night. Now on a 6-1 run in our last 2 nights. Hopefully we keep that going here. But yeah, that Kuminga assist would have been nice. Bringing out the money gun 2 nights in a row. We also have the month to recap and the season to date, which we do at the end of every month. We're up nearly 35 units on the NBA season so far to date. Last month, we picked up just under 10 units, which, what a great month that was. Our last 2 months have actually been pretty damn nice. So up 35 units on the season. Pretty damn cool for someone that tells you to fade him every single day, huh? In terms of, I guess the bad news, all right? We talked about the good news, the recap from last night, the run we're on, as well as the month to date and season to date stats. We got to get to the bad news here. The ride of the day. Got to drop the womp here. Wizard had Cal Bridges over 27.5 points plus rebounds. I like the spot. We jumped on board. He had 7 boards, just 15 points. I think it was like 33, 34 minutes of play. So that one does not come through. I do like the attempt from Wizard, and I like the spot with the matchup. But again, just does not come through. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is and you want to be part of it, all you have to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shouting you out over on my Twitter. Make sure to go follow me there. I'll follow everyone back today. If I'm not following you back, just at me and I'll follow you. But yeah, use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I'll pick one person. You guys get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. And if you continue to win, we continue to ride with your pick. So go ahead and drop those in the comments. But let's jump into game number 1 for today's slate. We got the Detroit Pistons taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, you might look at that spread and say, okay, that's a little fishy that the Cavs are only 9-point favorites over a Detroit team that's been bad. There's a few reasons why this kind of makes sense. One, Donovan Mitchell is questionable in this one, so if he doesn't play, then all of a sudden you expect a lower spread. But 2, this Cleveland team has dropped, I think it's like 7 games in a row against the spread. They're playing decent basketball. They've won 6 of their last 10, but 2-8 in their last 10 against the spread. And Detroit has covered 3 games straight here. They've covered 6 of their last 10. So if you're talking against the spread numbers, Detroit's actually been decent at that, whereas Cleveland has been abysmal at it. And 9 points shouldn't be too hard for Cleveland to cover, but the way that they're playing with these big numbers, I don't think so. So it's a little bit too much for me, especially if Donovan Mitchell doesn't get the run. So I'm going to lean Detroit in this one. I don't think that becomes a final play, just due to the fact that, I don't want to really bet on Detroit, and Cleveland still is a good team. They've just been bad to the number. In terms of a total here, 221.5. I'm going to lean towards the over. This Detroit team's been playing with decent pace. The defense isn't there. And even Cleveland's defense, these last couple games here against Dallas, 121 to 119. And then though, obviously, extra time here against Chicago, allowing 132 to a slow team like Chicago. I don't know if Dallas's defense is totally clicking right now. Cleveland's defense is totally clicking right now. I do think that, long run they will, because that's kind of how they went on their run and got that second spot in the East. I just don't know if right now, they're really stopping and locking up. So I'm going to lean towards the over. In terms of my favorite player prop in this spot, we'll jump into Outlier, guys. By the way, if you like this tool or it appeals to you, make sure to check out the link in the pinned comment. You get 7 days free, and then even after that, it's cheap, $19.99 a month. A lot of tools out there are like hundreds of dollars a month. Outlier, $19.99 a month, but just go get 7 days free. Click the damn link in the pinned comment. I like Jalen Duren here, over 12.5 rebounds plus assists. So if we look at the head-to-head, you're like, ooh, I don't know about that one, right? But the minutes played here are very crucial. So these are the only 2 games this season against Cleveland. He had 12 through 29 minutes and then 9 through 30 minutes last time they've played, right? If you look at him on the season, it's okay. Yeah, he's actually cashed this plenty of times, right? What about when he plays like he has been in the last 10, right? 31 minutes on average. If we go season long, 31 minutes for him, 31 or more. There's only been one game in which he does not cash. So if he gets the minutes, he should cash this. And again, I think that this game is going to be within that 9-point range. He should get the minutes. So I like looking at Jalen Duren here over 12.5 rebounds plus assists. I think his rebound line might be 12.5 on some books as well for plus money. Let's see. Yeah, plus 195 on DraftKings for 12.5 rebounds. I don't even mind that. I mean, yes, it's not as great, but look at that. If you get to 31 minutes, 62% of the time, he's grabbing 13 boards. I like including the assists in there because if you look at his recent games here with assists, like he's actually had 5 assists, 4 assists, 5 assists, 6 assists. He'll have those center nights where he gets 1 assist. I understand that, but I do think that, this could be a spot that could help out that stat. So Jalen Duren over 12.5 rebounds plus assist is probably my first look of a player prop in this spot. There's not many Cavs lines that I like or that are even fully out yet because we're waiting on that Mitchell news. All right, Sixers taking on Charlotte. I guess I'm going like full-blown psycho here because I kind of like Charlotte to cover the number in this spot. Again, like Detroit, I don't think I'm going to put my hard-earned bread on either of these teams. But like Philly, the way that they've been playing, I haven't been impressed, right? They're banged up as well. Obviously, still no Embiid. D'Anthony Melton came back and now is out. I just don't really trust them to lay this big number, like 11.5. I get that Charlotte's playing, they are just a bad team, but without Embiid, like 11.5 points seems like it's a lot. The one thing that I will say is the books, lay this number at 11 to open, and it's moved to 11.5. So like they trust that Philly at home here probably mops the floor with Charlotte. I just can't get behind that. So I'm going to lean Charlotte. Again, I don't think that becomes a final play. What I do think could become a final play in this spot is taking a peek at the over. Yes, Charlotte's offense has been absolutely terrible. They haven't scored over 99 points in 4 straight games here. And the Sixers offense actually hasn't looked all that great either. They haven't scored 105 plus, and I think it's 5 or 6 games. So you're like, oh, why would you take the over here? Because neither one of these defenses have been impressing me as of late. This is a Charlotte team that could easily, cause the team that they're playing to score 120. You know what I mean? Like, just because their defense hasn't been playing all that well. The pace could concern me, but Charlotte and Philly, both kind of middle of the pack pace teams. Like, this could go in a direction where, yes, it's slow, because it's a slow night. I get that. But if this gets to turning into transition ball whatsoever, I do think that neither one of these transition defenses is that great, and they can actually score in transition. So if this number wasn't low, I probably wouldn't be considering it. If we were looking at like a 219 total, I'd probably be passing on it. But the fact that it is that low at 212, I just don't hate taking a peek at the over there. In terms of player props, there's one that caught my eye. Looking at Buddy Hield over 3.5 rebounds. Do I think he's a rebound machine? No, but he's cashed this in 8 of his last 10 games. And I do think that, being on the new team, he's been more involved. He had a 10 rebound game, I believe, in his first, or was it first or second or something like that. Philly game. Like, I do think that this is a spot in which he's been grabbing some boards. So, I think actually since being, he's covered this in all but one game since being a Philadelphia 76er. So 3.5, not asking all that much. And Charlotte's going to give up tons and tons of rebounds. Not a very good rebounding team. He's getting the start at the shooting guard. They allow the 6th most rebounds to the shooting guard position on the season. All right, before we jump into the Celtics and Mavs game, we do have a promo over on Sleeper for this game. Luka, now he's on the injury report, but they do have a free square right now, 0.5 points for Luka Doncic going up against the Celtics tonight. You can use the link in the pinned comment, sign up for Sleeper and deposit. They're going to match your first deposit up to $500. So if you want to go big, they're going to literally give you $500 free dollars. If you want to go, more manageable, you can put in $50, they'll match it. Whatever you put in, they're going to double, and you can use that to play, and you get this Luka free square as a new user. If he's on the injury report, obviously they'll just void it. No harm, no foul. But go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment, or you can just download the Sleeper Picks app. Use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON, to go and get that deposit matched and this Luka square. They've been dropping so many promos as of late. Go check out Sleeper, guys. Super, super fun. What's unique about it is the fact that each and every pick that you throw into your slip has its own dynamic multiplier. They don't just follow a fixed payout structure. Go check it out, guys. Link in the pinned comment. So, like I said, we're jumping into this Celtics and Mavs game here. Celtics laying a big number, 10 points in this one. I did mention Luka on the injury report. That's just about the only injury in this game. The Celtics are healthy. The Celtics, when healthy, I think you got to trust, right? This line has only gotten larger. I think it opened up at 9.5, is now 10. The Celtics 3-0 against the spread in their last 3 against the Mavs. One of those games coming this year. And the Celtics have won 9 straight games. They've covered in 4 straight games. And they've had some big numbers to deal with. Of those 4 straight, 11.5, 8.5, 6, and 11.5. So they haven't had a small spread in quite some time. I don't mind them minus the 10 points here. They're at home. We know this is a good team at home, but Dallas has been good on the road. So I see the Dallas side of it. I just don't think the matchup is there. Like, the Celtics score more points than the Mavs, right? Which there's not that many teams that do that. Celtics better defense than the Mavs. You look at an offense and defensive efficiency standpoint, the Celtics by far and away the most efficient offense in the league, pretty much all year long. And then from a defensive standpoint, yeah, their defense hasn't been like firing on all cylinders, but they're a better defense than the Mavs. They should win the paint battle, the perimeter battle, and the rebounding battle. So even though Dallas, I do like their team. I think they're a good team. The Celtics, it's kind of like anything you can do, I can do better. So give me them minus the 10 points. Total sitting at 237. I like the under in this spot. The Celtics team, like I said, the defense hasn't been firing on all cylinders, but the pace has dropped a little bit here. Dallas is going to try and come in and play fast, but this is a Celtics team that, when at home this season, has hit on 55% of the games going under. So I think that the Celtics team knows that, hey, when push comes to shove, let's try and play half-court offense because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in the starting lineup that can get a bucket. Drew Holiday being the only one you can question, and he's even a bucket. So I do think that this could be a spot for the under. It's a high total for a reason. I get it, but I like the under. In terms of player props here, I almost want to look at, some of these tertiary stats like, assists or Derek White getting 1 block right now. You can get decent value on that. It's funny because you'd think in a big game with all these superstars, I'm looking at points and whatnot, but not many player props out right now because I think we're waiting on the Dallas side of things for the Luka news and a lot of inflated numbers, like even Tatum and Brown's numbers for points. It's like a little bit too high, so I'd probably consider like a Drew Holiday over steals and blocks, Derek White over steals and blocks, which is weird because this should be a game that like the sexy categories jump off the page, but I'm not seeing that. But you know what? Like a lot of you guys say, nothing ever jumps off the page to me. All right, next up, we have Toronto taking on Golden State. Golden State we did cash in with last night, but that means they were on a back-to-back or are on a back-to-back here. In terms of last time they met, it was earlier in January, and Toronto wins that game 133-118. If everyone's playing and no one's injured here, I guess from last night, I think Andrew Wiggins is on the injury report as questionable. I still like Golden State. I'm just trusting the basketball that they've been playing as of late, and on back-to-backs this season, they've covered in 64% of games, so it's like I can't even look at this and say, well, they're on a back-to-back, that hurts. Like, no, they've covered in 70% of their away games and 64% of their back-to-back games. Like, this is a Golden State team that's playing some good basketball and trustworthy basketball, I guess, when it comes to against the number. Covering in 8 of their last 10 games here. Toronto, I'm not trying to rag on them because they've played good and bad basketball, but they're kind of like a box of chocolates right now. Like, I can't really predict what we're going to get from Toronto. The game against, what was it? Was it Indiana that everybody thought that they were going to kind of stay in and whatnot? Like, and what they end up against Dallas, right, when they should have been playing in that game with Dallas, and then Dallas ends up beating them by 11 points. It was like, Toronto, that was your game. So I do think that they're kind of a mixed bag as of right now. In terms of a total here, I slightly look at the over because Golden State, not that they want to run in transition, they are a fast-paced team, but it's more or less quick off, I guess quick shots into the shot clock. Not always a transition offense in terms of frequency. But if they ever do that, Toronto is a terrible team at defending any sort of transition basketball. So I could see this one kind of snowballing and getting a lot of points being scored. But I like Golden State -3 more than I do taking a peek at the over. Now, if we jump back into outlier here for my player prop, RJ Barrett. I know RJ Barrett has cashed for so many times. He's also burned us so many times, but I like his over points plus assists. And I also don't hate him looking at just his points, but I'm going to look at points plus assists because assists in general, the guy has been racking up a decent amount of assists as of late, right? So why not include that in this? Look at what he did against Golden State last time they played. Again, early January, 37.6 assists, 36 minutes played. If you look at his minutes as of late, he's playing 33 minutes or so on the season when he plays, and obviously he's been hotter as of late, right? But when he plays, let's say, 33 minutes. which is what he's been playing. Look at that, guys. That just like the stat that we looked at earlier, right? With Jalen Duren, like if you take into account the minutes played, this becomes a lot more green than it was. So RJ Barrett over 24.5 points plus assists. He's getting plenty of assist chances, like we even showed with just assists overall. And in terms of Golden State against small forwards, they cover assists really, really well, right? But, you know, in their last 7 games here, points, they're a bottom 10 team or top 10 team, depending on you look at it, at allowing points to the small forward position. So I do think that RJ Barrett should have his scoring chances, and let's just hope that he continues to pass the ball and have some dimes served up. There are a few other player props I'm looking at in this game, but not really anything that I'm confident in. So that's probably going to be the one if we roll with something. Memphis taking on Portland. These are the types of games where I curse myself, like, why did you decide to break down every game of the slate every day? Why can't you just pick your spots? Because this is not a sexy matchup. It's not a spot that I'm looking forward to. If I had to gun to my head and had to give a lean, I would look at Memphis. But this is not a game I'm going to be betting. The total's at 209. Yeah, I don't even have a feeling on that, which is crazy enough. We did just cash the Memphis over with the Timberwolves a couple nights ago. That was because it was so low, and Memphis ended up scoring 101, which I guess would help here if they get to triple digits. But, like, can we even trust Portland to put up triple digits? I don't think so. So, honestly, I lean Memphis and the over, but nothing really concrete in there. In terms of player props, too, it's like digging through you-know-what and hoping you find something when there's nothing down there. Nothing major jumps off the page to me, which is obviously a favorite tagline of you guys, like I said earlier in the video. All right, next up, we have Minnesota hosting the Kings here. Minnesota coming off of a few wins in a row here. They haven't covered in 2 games, though. Sacramento coming off of a tough beating against Denver. Sacramento is definitely due to play some good basketball. De'Aaron Fox on the injury report here, as is Anthony Edwards and Anderson for Minnesota, so let's keep an eye on those. Do I think Minnesota wins this game? I do, especially at home. But the Kings have been a good cover team on the road this year. I think that this Kings team is getting too many points here, so I can't really turn a blind eye to that. I think that if this was like a 3.5 point spread, it'd be more in the ballpark of what I would have picked it at. So if, this dumb brain says we're getting 3 points of value there, I'll lean towards the Kings, even though I do think that Minnesota probably ultimately wins this game. In terms of the total, 224.5, it's a little bit too high for me. We've seen Memphis, obviously play some slow basketball. We did just cash an over, but that was because the total was 209 a couple nights back. And Sacramento, we can't really hang our hat on their offense as of late, right? So I think that this one probably finishes in the 220s. Let's just hope that we're on the right side of the 220s. But again, I think that Minnesota wins this game. I just think it's too many points to pass up with Sacramento. In terms of a player prop here, I like looking at Anthony Edwards under 5.5 assists. It helps that I think this game is going to be an under type game anyways, right? But this is a stat in which he has hit the under in 64% of games this season. As of late in his last 10, he's only gone over and had 6+ assists in 3 of those 10 games. And through those 10 games, he's averaging 7.7 potential assists, meaning this guy needs to capitalize on damn near 90% of his potential assists to get to the number of 6 assists. So I do think that this could be a decent spot to take a peek at his under. Do I think he's going to go off, have a good game? Yeah, he's an absolute stud. 6 assists is still asking a lot for a guy that wants to shoot first, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Pelicans taking on the Pacers. This is a tricky one. So if you're on the opposite side of me, I really wouldn't go and switch up your thing just by listening to my voice. But I like the Pelicans. Obviously, we just saw this game. Only it's inverse a couple nights ago. We had Indiana at home 2 nights ago. I think it was on Wednesday, and they won 123-114. But if you watched that game, and they covered, they were -4. If you watch that game, Indiana was just in the lead. The fact that ended as a 9-point game makes it seem closer than it was, is what I'm saying. So really what I'm basing this on is the fact that these two teams are not that far in separation of skill, I don't believe. So you have Indiana winning when they're at home. I think the Pelicans play more Pelican-style basketball, slow things down here, and control the game here. And then they win, and it's kind of like a, you know what, we fought each other, and then we have respect for each other at the end of the day, because it's just the home court advantage, in my opinion. So I'm going to lean towards the Pelicans here. Like I said, if you're on the Indiana Pacers, I'm not really saying much that should talk you off of it. I also like the under because, like I said, I think the Pelicans control the pace, and they're at home here, and this one should be a little bit slower than the last game. And even the last game was more of an up-tempo style game, and it still cashed the under at 239. So if the Pacers, I think, are going to play somehow even slower than last game, we know the Pelicans should play slower. I think this one cashes the under. from a player prop perspective here, it's tough because I want to look at like Herb Jones points plus assists because he's been looking good and whatnot. But again, are you looking at a guy that just isn't as involved as you might want him to be? You can look at his points at 11.5 as well. I just want the volume to be there because if you look at his trends, we can jump into outlier here. Herb Jones, this is just his points, right? He's cashed this in 9 of his last 10, and the field goal attempts have been there, right? But if we just go back and look at more of the season, like there's been times where he's shooting the ball 4 times per game. It's a little bit worrisome. If we go with sort of the minutes approach that we have been doing, right? If he plays 34 minutes, we'll say 34 minutes on the season, again, he's been cashing that. And obviously, that's a huge tool of this outlier to be able to look at the minutes. But the less and less he plays, like all of a sudden, you start to see more and more red pop up. So I like Herb Jones in this spot. I think it's a fair matchup. But any way you look at it, like we're just filtering through positions here. Any position, obviously, is, at least in the middle of the court there, is kind of a green light for playing against Indiana. So give me Herb Jones over 11.5 points. But like I said, there is a little bit of a concern for volume being involved in the offense, as well as hoping that he gets those minutes played. All right, Chicago taking on Milwaukee. This is a weird one. I look at that spread and I'm like, oh, someone must be injured for Milwaukee, right? Chris Middleton's listed as out, but that's it. And I mean, we could say that's it because they have Dame and Giannis now, right? Middleton being out was a huge blow to them last year, but you know, we've seen them struggle without Middleton at times. But let's be real, this Bucks team, the way that they're playing now, it's like if Lillard and Giannis are playing, they can afford to lose a guy like Middleton, who really is important. But against a team like Chicago, who, yeah, like I think Chicago's been playing some good basketball against some good teams, like even that win against Cleveland a few nights ago, like that's like an impressive win, right? But this Milwaukee team's playing good basketball. I think that when they went to overtime in that, not Milwaukee, but Chicago went to overtime against Cleveland. But Milwaukee's been playing good basketball coming out of the All-Star break, and I've said it in a few videos, right? It's like maybe something changed with them. I know there's all the drama with Doc and whatnot, but no, they won 4 straight games. They've covered in 4 straight games. The problem is that they haven't played anybody good, other than, I guess, Minnesota. That was a good win. I'll give them that. That was in Minnesota, too. But they've played an injured Philly team, and they smacked up on Charlotte 2 nights in a row. That's worrisome to me, but 3.5 points against the team that I do think that they can match up well against here. I'll take Milwaukee. I think that there's some value there. The one concern, and you guys know that I like to read lines, right? The one concern is that this is a 3.5 point spread, and the books are kind of leaving it there. Yes, it's moved from 4, so people, you know, they didn't really even like people buying those Chicago plus 4s. So the line movement and the line itself kind of goes against what we're saying, but I can't help but look at Milwaukee or minus the 3.5 points. On the season, yes, they've been terrible against the spread, but like I said, as of late, playing better basketball. They're 3-0 against the spread on the road coming out of the All-Star break. In terms of a total, 221.5. If Milwaukee wins, I think that they put up, 115 plus, which makes this game, this total very attainable. So I'll lean towards the over here. It's not something that I'm necessarily loving because Milwaukee's cashed just 1 over through their last 10 games. So they haven't been playing like that because their defense has actually been clicking. And this is like such an inverse of what you'd assume. Chicago's actually the one that's cashing over. 7 of their last 10 have gone over. So you have 2 teams that, started the year where Chicago's just under, and Milwaukee, which is so weird, is going, it was going over, and they've just kind of switched. But I do think that Milwaukee should be able to, like I said, get to 115-ish tonight, meaning that this should be a pretty attainable over. Player prop-wise, not my favorite spot here. I'm going to continue to love looking at Malik Beasley when it comes to three-pointers made. The problem is the thing is getting bumped. It's now 3.5 plus 105, so we're kind of losing tons of value there because I do think a sweet spot for him is that 2.5 number. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Damian Lillard, I would still consider over 2.5 3-pointers made. Very similar to like the leans that I've given with the Bucks as of late, right? Like Brook Lopez, Malik Beasley, and Dame Lillard in terms of their overs. I should mention that this is a back-to-back spot for the Milwaukee Bucks. Like I didn't even give that in the intro of the 3.5 points, but it really doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of an issue. One, the over, Milwaukee's cashed in 60% of games on back-to-backs, and they're 50-50 to the spread. So still a super low number, even with back-to-backs being considered in my brain. All right, Clippers laying a big number against Washington here. What do you say about this game? Clippers obviously going to be hungry after that game against the Lakers. They couldn't pretty much fumble the bag there. And Washington played the Lakers last night and actually kept up with them, losing by 3 points. They're 10.5 point dogs. But this line is 15 points, and the books have held it strong at 15. I'm looking at Lakers. This is a Washington team that obviously is bad to begin with. Now they're on the road in a back-to-back situation. 30% of their games they've covered. So 70% of the games they have not covered when on a back-to-back this year. The Clippers with a rest advantage against teams. 67% of the games they've covered. Now the number is massive, and we should take that into consideration, and maybe it makes it a pass, right? But I'm not considering Washington in this spot. Total sitting at 239.5. My gut tells me under. The numbers tell me that this could be a high-scoring game, and I'll trust the numbers over this big old gut for this one. So give me the over in this spot as well. And then no major player props jumping off the page. We do have blowout concerns and blowout potential, so nothing that I really want to play or touch with player props in this game. But guys, it's going to wrap for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 25, letting me know you made it to the end of the video and you are an absolute real one, and you're not a guppy. All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next one, all right? Peace out.